Inflation, a persistent rise in the general price level of goods and services, is a phenomenon that touches every facet of economic life. Its effects ripple across households, businesses, and government policy, shaping decisions both grand and minute. While moderate inflation is often seen as a sign of a healthy, growing economy, rapid or unpredictable inflation can erode purchasing power, disrupt planning, and breed uncertainty. Navigating these choppy waters requires a keen understanding of inflation's causes, its real-world impacts, and most importantly, the practical steps consumers and businesses can take to mitigate its effects. For consumers, inflation's most immediate impact is felt at the checkout counter, where familiar products become more expensive seemingly overnight. The same paycheck stretches less far, and families are forced to make tough choices about what to buy, what to forego, and how to reallocate their budgets. In such an environment, financial discipline becomes paramount. The first step is to establish a clear and realistic household budget that reflects current prices rather than outdated assumptions. This means tracking expenses diligently, identifying areas where spending can be trimmed, and prioritizing needs over wants. For instance, discretionary spending on dining out, entertainment, or luxury items may need to be curtailed in favor of essentials like groceries, housing, and transportation. One of the most effective strategies for consumers during periods of inflation is to become an informed and strategic shopper. This involves comparing prices across different retailers, taking advantage of discounts, loyalty programs, and bulk buying where appropriate. Stocking up on non-perishable goods when they are on sale can provide a buffer against future price hikes. Additionally, consumers can explore alternative brands or generic products, which often offer comparable quality at a lower price point. Flexibility and adaptability in purchasing habits can yield significant savings over time. Another key tactic is to minimize debt, particularly high-interest debt such as credit card balances. As central banks raise interest rates to combat inflation, the cost of borrowing rises, making it more expensive to carry debt. Paying down outstanding balances not only reduces interest expenses, but also frees up cash flow for other needs. Where possible, consumers should avoid taking on new debt unless absolutely necessary, and consider consolidating existing debts at lower interest rates if feasible. Inflation can also present unique opportunities for savers and investors. While traditional savings accounts may offer limited protection against rising prices due to relatively low interest rates, there are inflation-protected investment vehicles available. For example, Treasury inflation-protected securities, TIPS, in the United States adjust their principal value in line with inflation, providing a safeguard for long-term savings. Diversifying investments across asset classes, such as stocks, real estate, and commodities, can also help offset the erosive effects of inflation on purchasing power. However, it is important for consumers to assess their risk tolerance and investment horizon carefully, seeking professional advice when needed. On a more personal level, inflation can be a catalyst for individuals to reassess their skills and earning potential. As the cost of living rises, seeking opportunities for career advancement, additional training, or side gigs can provide an important income boost. Upskilling or reskilling in high-demand fields can open doors to better-paying jobs, while entrepreneurial ventures or freelance work may offer supplementary income streams. In this way, inflation can spur positive changes and foster greater financial resilience. For businesses, inflation poses a different set of challenges and opportunities. Rising input costs, whether for raw materials, labor, or energy, can squeeze profit margins and force difficult decisions about pricing, production, and investment. The key for businesses is to remain agile and proactive in managing these pressures. One foundational strategy is to conduct regular reviews of cost structures, identifying inefficiencies and seeking ways to streamline operations. This may involve renegotiating contracts with suppliers, adopting new technologies to automate processes, or outsourcing non-core functions to reduce overhead. Pricing strategy becomes particularly critical in an inflationary environment. While passing increased costs onto customers may be necessary, businesses must strike a delicate balance between maintaining profitability and retaining customer loyalty. Transparent communication about the reasons for price adjustments can help preserve trust, especially if accompanied by visible efforts to maintain or enhance value. Some businesses may opt for smaller, more frequent price increases rather than large sudden hikes, which can be easier for customers to absorb. Innovation and product differentiation can also serve as powerful tools for weathering inflation. By offering unique products or superior service, businesses can justify higher prices and strengthen their competitive position. Investing in research and development, exploring new market segments, or enhancing customer experience can create additional value that sets a business apart from its rivals. Moreover, businesses that are able to anticipate and adapt to changing consumer preferences, such as increased demand for affordable options or sustainable products, will be better positioned to thrive. Managing cash flow is another crucial consideration for businesses during inflationary periods. With costs rising and payment cycles potentially lengthening, maintaining sufficient liquidity becomes a top priority. Businesses should closely monitor receivables and payables, negotiate favorable payment terms with suppliers and customers, and consider establishing lines of credit as a precautionary measure. Effective inventory management is equally important. Holding excessive inventory can tie up capital and expose the business to the risk of obsolescence, while inadequate inventory can lead to lost sales and dissatisfied customers. Human capital management also takes on added significance during inflation. As employees face higher living costs, businesses may encounter pressure to raise wages or enhance benefits. While it may not always be possible to match inflation with salary increases, offering non-monetary perks, such as flexible work arrangements, professional development opportunities, or enhanced workplace culture, can help retain talent and maintain morale. Open communication about the company's financial situation and the rationale behind compensation decisions fosters trust and engagement. In addition to internal strategies, businesses can benefit from staying attuned to broader economic trends and policy developments. Monitoring inflation indicators, central bank actions, and government fiscal measures enables more informed decision-making and strategic planning. Engaging with industry associations, chambers of commerce, and peer networks can provide valuable insights and support in navigating complex challenges. Both consumers and businesses can also play a role in advocating for sound public policy responses to inflation. Governments have a range of tools at their disposal, from monetary policy adjustments to targeted subsidies and social safety nets. Constructive engagement with policymakers through voting, public comment, or participation in civic organizations can help ensure that the needs of households and enterprises are taken into account. It is important to recognize that inflation is not a uniform experience. Its impacts vary across regions, industries, and demographic groups. For example, urban residents may face steeper increases in housing costs, while rural communities may be more affected by fuel prices. Similarly, low-income households tend to spend a larger share of their income on necessities, making them more vulnerable to price spikes in food and energy. Tailoring strategies to specific circumstances and remaining adaptable as conditions evolve are essential components of effective inflation management. Technology can be a powerful ally in the fight against inflation. For consumers, digital tools and apps can facilitate budgeting, expense tracking, and smart shopping. Online marketplaces and price comparison platforms empower consumers to find the best deals and make informed choices. For businesses, automation, data analytics, and supply chain optimization technologies can drive efficiency and cost savings. Embracing digital transformation not only helps mitigate the impact of inflation, but also positions both consumers and businesses for long-term success in an increasingly dynamic economy. Community and collaboration are also vital resources during times of inflation. Consumers can benefit from sharing tips, pooling resources, and supporting local businesses. Community gardens, bulk buying cooperatives, and carpooling arrangements are just a few examples of collective action that can stretch resources further. For businesses, partnerships with other firms, joint ventures, and knowledge sharing within industry clusters can unlock new opportunities and reduce vulnerability to external shocks. Education and financial literacy are fundamental to navigating inflation successfully. Understanding basic economic concepts, staying informed about market trends, and developing critical thinking skills enable individuals and organizations to make better decisions. Schools, employers, and community organizations all have a role to play in promoting financial education and empowering people to manage their money effectively. Ultimately, inflation is a test of resilience, adaptability, and resourcefulness. While it presents undeniable challenges, it also offers opportunities for learning, growth, and innovation. By approaching inflation with a proactive mindset, seeking out information, embracing change, and making thoughtful choices, consumers and businesses alike can not only survive, but thrive. Looking to the future, it is clear that inflation will remain a recurring feature of economic life. Demographic shifts, technological advances, geopolitical tensions, and environmental factors all have the potential to influence price levels in unpredictable ways. Building resilience against inflation requires a long-term perspective, grounded in sound financial management, continuous learning, and a willingness to adapt. For consumers, this means cultivating habits of saving, investing, and prudent spending that endure beyond the latest inflationary cycle. It also means staying engaged with the world around them, recognizing how global events, government policies, and market dynamics shape their everyday experiences. For businesses, resilience involves building strong relationships with customers, suppliers, and employees, investing in innovation, and maintaining operational flexibility. It also entails a commitment to ethical conduct and social responsibility, recognizing that business success is intertwined with the well-being of the broader community. At its core, the challenge of inflation is about managing change. Prices rise and fall, economies expand and contract, and the world continues to evolve. Those who can navigate these shifts with clarity, creativity, and confidence will be best equipped to achieve their goals and secure a prosperous future. To add further depth to this exploration, it is helpful to examine some of the underlying causes of inflation and how they inform the strategies outlined above. Inflation can be driven by a variety of factors, including demand-pull dynamics, cost-push pressures, and built-in expectations. Demand-pull inflation occurs when aggregate demand outpaces supply, leading to upward pressure on prices. Cost-push inflation arises when the costs of production increase due to higher wages, energy prices, or supply chain disruptions, and businesses pass these costs on to consumers. Built-in inflation reflects the role of expectations. When workers and firms anticipate rising prices, they adjust wages and prices accordingly, creating a self-reinforcing cycle. Understanding these dynamics can help consumers and businesses anticipate inflationary trends and respond more effectively. For example, if inflation is primarily demand-driven, businesses may find opportunities to expand output or enter new markets. If inflation is cost-driven, efforts to improve efficiency and control input costs become even more critical. In either case, staying informed about the root causes of inflation enhances the ability to make strategic decisions. Inflation also interacts with other macroeconomic variables, such as employment, interest rates, and exchange rates. High inflation can erode the value of currency, making imports more expensive and potentially fueling further price increases. Central banks may respond by raising interest rates, which can slow economic growth and increase the cost of borrowing. These complex interrelationships underscore the importance of a holistic approach to financial planning, one that takes into account both immediate needs and long-term objectives. In terms of practical steps, consumers can benefit from revisiting their financial goals and timelines in light of inflation. For example, those saving for retirement or a major purchase may need to adjust their contributions or investment strategies to account for the diminished purchasing power of future dollars. Regularly reviewing and updating financial plans ensures that they remain aligned with changing economic realities. For businesses, scenario planning and stress testing can be valuable tools for navigating uncertainty. By modeling different inflation scenarios and assessing their potential impact on revenues, costs, and cash flow, businesses can identify vulnerabilities and develop contingency plans. This proactive approach reduces the risk of being caught off guard by sudden shifts in the economic landscape. Risk management is another area where both consumers and businesses can take concrete action. For consumers, this may involve maintaining adequate insurance coverage, building an emergency fund, and diversifying income sources. For businesses, risk management encompasses everything from hedging against commodity price fluctuations to securing supply chains and safeguarding against cyber threats. A comprehensive risk management strategy provides a buffer against the unforeseen consequences of inflation and other disruptions. The psychological dimension of inflation should not be overlooked. Rising prices can create anxiety, frustration, and a sense of loss of control. For consumers, maintaining perspective and focusing on what can be controlled, such as budgeting, saving, and seeking support, can alleviate stress. For businesses, fostering a positive organizational culture, supporting employee well-being, and communicating openly with stakeholders can help maintain morale and cohesion during challenging times. Social and environmental considerations are increasingly relevant in the context of inflation. As businesses seek to manage costs, there may be temptations to cut corners or compromise on quality, safety, or sustainability. However, short-term cost savings achieved at the expense of ethical standards or environmental stewardship can damage reputation and undermine long-term success. Consumers, too, face choices about how to balance affordability with values such as sustainability, fairness, and community support. Making conscious, values-driven decisions can contribute to a more equitable and resilient society. Globalization adds another layer of complexity to the inflation equation. Supply chains that span continents can amplify the effects of disruptions, such as natural disasters, geopolitical conflicts, or pandemics, on prices and availability of goods. Both consumers and businesses must be prepared to adapt to shifts in global supply and demand, whether by seeking alternative sources, supporting local production, or building greater flexibility into their operations. Government policy plays a central role in shaping the trajectory of inflation and the tools available to address it. Fiscal measures, such as targeted subsidies, tax relief, or direct transfers, can help cushion the impact on vulnerable groups. Monetary policy, managed by central banks, influences inflation through interest rates and money supply. While individuals and businesses cannot control these levers directly, Understanding their implications can inform smarter financial choices and advocacy efforts. In conclusion, navigating inflation is a multifaceted challenge that demands vigilance, adaptability, and a proactive mindset. For consumers, it means honing budgeting skills, minimizing debt, seeking value, and investing wisely. For businesses, it calls for operational efficiency, strategic pricing, innovation, and effective risk management. Both groups benefit from staying informed, leveraging technology, and building strong networks of support. Inflation, while daunting, is not insurmountable. By embracing change, learning continuously, and making thoughtful decisions, consumers and businesses can turn adversity into opportunity. The journey may be complex, but with the right strategies, it is possible to not only weather the storm, but emerge stronger and more resilient than before.